Go ahead and get started. We get ready to grab a seat.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get started here. Y'all bow your head for the invocation. Heavenly Father, thank you for protecting everybody that came tonight. See them safely home again. And Father, help us get our country back, and our Constitution, and the way we want our lives to be run by our government. We are the government. The congressmen and senators are our employees, and they have forgotten that. So would you please help us remind them who's in charge. Make everything as easy as possible tonight, that we can get things done in a short period of time. We can have a productive meeting and get out of here so people can get home safe. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. All right, thank you for coming out tonight on a chilly early winter evening, feels like. I'm Ed Woodruff. I'm the chairman of the Floyd County Tea Party. And first of all, I want to thank the Moose Lodge for letting us use their hall tonight. And Eddie Worth, president of the Moose Lodge, is here. And Eddie, where are you? You're here somewhere.
Well, I'm back here in past government, but thank you guys for turning out. We're pleased to offer you our facility, which we will for any community. And the Moose, I'll take just 2 seconds. The Moose is all about our children, our elderly, and our community. And this fits right into all of that. So, welcome all. Hope you all have enjoy our facilities.
All right, thank you. All right. Now, before we get started, I'm going to ask Greg Aldridge to introduce our guest.
Tonight, our guest will be the candidate for the Republican Party for the 9th District of Virginia's Congressional Districts, Morgan Griffith.
So, you want me to sit here, be on camera, or right here next to me? I may have to jump up and pace around a little bit.
That's all right. Whatever you need to do.
All right, let me go over a few things with you before we get started, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I need to read a statement to you. This activity is educational in nature only and does not convey an actual or implied endorsement of the candidate by the FCTP, its officers, and its members. Now, Congressman Boucher was likewise invited to attend this event tonight and be a guest with us also. And Congressman Boucher did not respond to our invitation. Actually, 2 invitations. Okay, correct me. Actually, he was invited twice and he did not respond to either invitation. Now, let me go over the ground rules for the activities tonight. This meeting is scheduled to last for 90 minutes. Individuals were offered the opportunity to submit questions by email, either to me at my personal email or to the Floyd County Tea Party website. I did collect those questions. Out of that list of questions, I have selected 4 questions that I will ask candidate Griffith tonight. He will have 5 minutes to respond to the question. Al Pierce is our timekeeper with a stopwatch over here, and he will signal candidate Griffith when he's getting close to the end of his time, and then give him a stop signal. Okay. After he completes that, I'll move to the next question. When we have completed the 5 core questions, then I will open up the floor for questions from you in the audience. And you will have the opportunity, if we did not already ask your question in the core questions, to address your questions from the floor directly to candidate Griffith. All right, with no further ado, we will get started. Yes, sir.
Let me explain what the timing system is.
Oh, okay.
Each question is timed for 5 minutes. When it starts, I'll hold up the flag saying go. When it gets to 4 minutes, I'll hold up this saying you've used 4 minutes. Don't laugh, this is my wardrobe. And when it gets to 4.5 minutes, I hold this up so you got 30 seconds to wrap up. Then I'll hold this up and say 5 minutes. Understand the timings?
Do you like
I could-
NASCAR?
Huh?
Do you like NASCAR?
These not NASCAR.
Yeah, what's got all these flags going?
No, but I couldn't think of anything offhand to get this done, so I said, well, I got all colored handkerchiefs in there, so the door pulled back forward and said, this'll work. So we're ready to go. First question.
All right. Can you folks hear me all right in the back, those that are in the rear of the room?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
okay. Core question number 1. What is your position on full enforcement of all immigration laws? What will you do to support full enforcement?
And if anybody can hear me in the back, please let me know at any time as the night goes on, because I might, as the night goes on, I may let my voice drop a little bit. But I would say that I do support full enforcement of our immigration laws in the United States of America. I believe we need to build a real fence across our southern border. Once we have built a real fence, and I'll come back to that in a second, but once we've built a real fence, then we need to take a look at our northern border as well, because once we stop the flow across the southern border, there will be pressure on the northern border as well. The reason I mention a real fence is that I believe we need a fence like they have on the separating Israel from the West Bank, where it's high tech and it's not cheap, and nothing comes without a cost. But they can actually tell if somebody's trying to, climb the fence or go under the fence. They've got sensors in that, and they can pick it up real quick. Right now, part of the fence that they claim that they're building or have built across the southern border is what they call a virtual fence. And my understanding is in some parts of that virtual fence, it means they've hired a few extra patrols to drive up and down the road looking for folks. That just does not get the job done. I think we need a real fence.
Is that it?
All right, thank you. Core question number 2. What will you do to rescind Obamacare?
First, I have pledged that I will vote to repeal. It was interesting, my opponent, I don't know whether he had anything to do with it or not, but Obama sent out an email a few weeks back saying that he needed Rick Boucher to be reelected to office because he would not repeal Obamacare. Now, we all know that Obama will, on the health care reform, as he calls it, or Obamacare as it's commonly known, we know that he will veto any bill. But I do think we have to put the bill forward with a new majority in Congress and either let the Senate kill it or let the president veto it. Show that he's, that he's actually going to do it. Let's make him do it. Then, as everybody learned in high school when they were coming through, the power of Congress and the checks and balances of the 3 branches of government is to control the purse strings. And so what we have to do is we have to clip the money out of the budget that would allow Obamacare or the health care reform, whichever way you want to call it, to move forward. You pull the money back. That's Congress's power over the government, and it needs to be exercised.
Core question number 3. Would you support a balanced budget for the federal government? What would you do to move us toward that goal?
I would support a balanced budget with some exceptions. And let me explain. I think there has to be a kick-out clause. It wouldn't bother me if it was a supermajority, but a kick-out clause for times of war and national emergency. I do think that it should not be used, define almost anything as a national emergency. So I do think you'd have to have some definitions of what that is and what that means. But if we have declared war or national emergency, then sometimes we may have to take a look at it. But with those 2 carve-outs, I think we need a balanced budget amendment. It's a little bit different because the federal government does have the defense issue. But we have a balanced budget in Virginia. It makes us, and I like it, it makes us have to make the tough decisions. If you can print money and you can make easy decisions by just printing more money, it's really hard to say, okay, we're going to have to cut something that people might like. But we've done that in Virginia. We've made those tough decisions. And it's not been fun or easy. But it's something that long term I wish the federal government were doing, because otherwise, if the economy doesn't turn around, you're going to have to make those cuts at some point. And I believe the extreme debt that the nation is taking on is going to damage our economy for many years into the future. And I know my children and lot of people's grandchildren will be having to pay that debt and the interest on that debt for many, many years. And it also concerns me that debt is controlled, a significant portion of the debt is controlled by foreign entities.
All right, thank you. Core question number 4. What would you do to help make our country energy independent?
Well, what we have to do is use the energy that we've got. And we have to realize that we are a very rich nation when it comes to energy reserves. We have natural gas. It's unbelievable how much natural gas we have. We have coal, and of course we have oil. We ought to be able to get to all of those. We ought to be able to use all of those, and if we do so, we can be energy independent. Now, that does not mean that I am against looking for alternative sources of energy. If we can come up with a way to make wind efficient, if we want to use offshore wind, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I think it's a good thing. I think solar is a very good thing. But we have to make sure that we're not raising the cost of all the other energy sources in an attempt to say, well, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it with wind or solar, when right now they're a lot more expensive. We have real live families that are struggling to pay bills. We don't need to be raising the cost of heating their home and providing the ability for them to use that energy. Further, if you raise the cost of energy in this country, and it's a unilateral action by the United States like cap and trade would do, I fear that, well, I just tell you, it's my belief that we kill a lot of manufacturing jobs, the ones that are still here, because we already have a wage differential with a lot of the other countries. And if you suddenly throw in that our energy is going to cost 15 to 30% more than energy costs in those countries, you're putting our manufacturers at a severe competitive disadvantage. The products are going to be made. The products are going to be made. The question is the product made in the United States of America, or is that product made in India or China or Brazil? You know, one of the companies that I've talked to, and part of running, you get to meet a lot of people. You also get to talk to a lot of folks who are in the decision-making process about whether to expand the company or whether to keep a company here. One of those companies that affects the 9th District of Virginia is Midwest-Vaco in Covington. They employ 1,100 people. They believe that under cap and trade, which is in effect a tax on carbon-based energy, they believe that their business model is unsustainable. That's the word they use. And what that means is that over a period of years, probably about a decade, after that concept passes, they will be in a competitive disadvantage to such an extent that they will move their operations to Brazil. Now, they'll just tell you their business is unsustainable. Where they end up going is a matter of question, but they have holdings in Brazil, and one of the other big places that produces the type of paper they do is Scandinavia. Either way, we do this, we're looking at sending another 1,100 jobs out of the country. And there are other facilities and small businesses all across the 9th District and the United States as a whole that will not be able to be competitive any longer in the world market. We continue to act like, and I'm getting a little far afield, you might have to rein me in, but we continue to act like, we are isolated. We are not isolated. When we do things that damage business, it's not just something that's going to have to be borne in this country. It means we're losing those jobs because they'll just ship those jobs elsewhere. When you can have Griffith Lumber tell me, and no Ken, but Griffith Lumber down in Patrick County, tell me that they're shipping wood overseas to China, and the Chinese are making that wood into furniture and shipping it back to the United States. We've got some issues that we have to deal with because that obviously is not what was intended. But that's the reason why we have to be energy independent, and why it has to be energy independence at a cost that is reasonable. And we are so rich in energy, there is no reason for us to be paying top dollar in the world, when particularly Virginia, but the United States as a whole, has natural gas, coal, and we have a little bit of oil in Virginia. But we have plenty of all three of those in the United States of America. We can have reasonably priced energy in this country if we choose to do so.
All right.